Morning guys. Okay, we're going to be replacing the water pump here on this 2006 Dodge Ram 1500 4x4 with the Hemi engine. So yeah, water pump started leaking a while ago actually, and I think it's leaking from the input shaft, the pulley input shaft. So we're going to get to replacing that. I have the new one here. All aluminum. It's a Gates pump, and there's the Napa part number there, 43501. The Gates pump. So first thing we got to do is remove the fan, and usually you need a special tool. You can buy it, it's probably not that expensive, but really this is all you need here. And it's the same pump obviously that's on the engine, so you just try to engage these two of these four holes right here, and the tool you can buy goes on there, but all you really need to do is get a piece of flat bar or something similar, and you can either use bolts. I just welded some pins in. The bolts here are 109 millimeters apart on center, and the length isn't super critical, so you can use like a 1/4 inch bolt if you want, and then just take a grinder. I used a plasma cutter, but you can take a grinder and just cut out a notch there so that it fits around there like that, and that will hold the pulley while you loosen the nut. And it's a 32 millimeter nut on the flywheel or on the fan, but I'm going to use just a pipe wrench on it, a big pipe wrench. So let's get into that. Okay, so I'm going to put the tool on here. And I'm just going to let it actually rest right on this AC pulley here. So when I put the pressure on with the pipe wrench, it'll keep it from moving. And like I said, 32 millimeter wrench or pipe wrench. And turn it to the left to loosen it. There we go. Wasn't too bad. It may have come off without a wrench, without the pulley wrench, just from the friction of the belt, but rarely is that the case. So we'll spin that off. Take our out here. Should come out just like that. Okay, so you can remove the fan shroud with these tanks, but I'm just going to remove them first to get them out of the way, and it allows better access to the bolt, the one bolt of the fan shroud. So 10 millimeters. Disconnect the hose, and then there's just the hose coming off of the washer fluid pump, which I will disconnect. You'll see it'll be washer fluid coming out, so we'll just plug that. Okay, and then that should give you better access to the two 13 millimeter bolts here. What I should know, you do not need to take the radiator out for this job. Bolts are out. This lifts out. There's clips holding it in the bottom. Let's come right out. Okay, so next we're going to remove our belt. Take note of the routing. I don't think this thing has a belt routing sort of sticker anywhere here that I see. So anyway, take this off. So we'll use a wrench with a 3/8 drive, push down. Get that out of the way. Take the belt off. Okay, so we're going to remove these two idlers right here and this tensioner. It'll help, well, you need to move them so you can get to the bolts that are holding the water pump on. But good time to check your all your pulleys and idlers here. So if you're listening for any weird sounds or movement, these aren't moving too much, but if you listen, let me shut the fan on. I don't know if you can hear that, but not totally silent. There's probably some squeal to it when there's pressure on it. And then this one, not sounding great. So I'm probably end up replacing those, and it's really easy to do. So we're just gonna take that off right now. So those two are held on with a 13mm bolt. You're using the same bolts in the same locations whenever you put this water pump back together. I'll get into that a little bit more in a sec. But some of the bolts are specific to the holes that they're in. So you don't want to mix those up. Including these pulley bolts, or these idler bolts. $15mm. And while we're here, I'm just going to show you the drain for the rad. There it is right there. I've already got it open, but all you need is, you can use a socket, I don't know what size, but I'm using a 10mm hex, goes inside. So I'll just close it so you can see its operation. So that's closed, and then open. It's very delicate, so you want to be gentle. Open is right there. As soon as the stuff starts coming out, stop cranking backwards. You're good to go. So next we'll remove this upper rad hose, 5/16 hose clamp. Just push that off to the side. We'll do the lower rad hose. Twist them usually to break them. This one will probably have some fluid if it wasn't completely drained out. So make sure you got a catch pan. In the right location. Just we'll move this up here out of the way. And your heater hoses. These ones are usually a little rough, so let's use some channel locks to break it, hopefully. one. Was hopefully a lot easier. Go, put those there, out of the way. Okay, so now we're going to start removing the bolts. So what I did, and you really should do, save you a lot of stress in the end, is make a template. So all I did was trace the new water pump onto a piece of cardboard. Actually happens to be the box for the pump. And then I just marked the holes. I'm gonna poke them through with a screwdriver or the bolts when they come out. So as each bolt comes out, just put it in the template. They are different lengths, so you're gonna wanna keep track of them. I usually clean them after, so clean the threads on a wire wheel or a wire brush so they're nice and clean on the way in. They're not gonna require thread sealing or anything when they go back. But yeah, let's get to these. I believe they're all 13. I'll double check that. Yeah, they are all 13. This bracket here is going to have to come off. This bracket has to come off too when you replace the alternator. It's sort of like a stabilizing bracket, so those are going to have to come off. And then obviously all the bolts holding the pump on, and the template really helps so you know where they are. It's going to get a little weird when we get down into this one. I think that's why there's holes in the steering pump, so you can access one of these bolts. I'm not sure which one, but yeah, that they should be able to come out without moving that steering pump, but I could be wrong. We'll see. Okay, so this one actually comes out with no issue. Just squeezes by the pulley. Pump's already off. These pumps come off really easily because it's just a gasket, which is nice, so there's no gasket cleaning or anything like that. There we go. Okay, so I'm just going to clean this up. Even though it is a gasket, there is still a little bit of debris where the sealing surface is, so you want to make sure it's nice and clean so you get a good seal next time. So I'm just using a brass brush, and I'll use some brake cleaner to clean it up really nice. Okay, so with the water pump on the bench, we're just going to take off the thermostat housing. It's 13 millimeter as well. It's always a good idea to replace your thermostat. I replaced mine about a month ago, so I'm not going to, but again, like I said, you should replace it. It's got a rubber gasket around here, so you don't have to worry about putting a new gasket on here or anything. All we're going to do is clean this up, clean this surface up, give this a little bit of a wash, and then we'll be good to go. I'm actually just looking at it right now. It's got some tearing of the rubber gasket right here, so I'm probably just going to go ahead and replace it. Not sure why that happened. Maybe it got a little too hot, but we're going to replace that as well. So take a little time out here, order some more parts so we can get this back together, then we'll go from there. Okay guys, got a few new parts here, one being the thermostat. So this one is, I think, a Napa. Yeah, Napa 449203. So you can install this afterwards, but I'm just going to install it now, so it's one less thing I have to do later. One thing with the thermostat, there's this little, sometimes they have this little brass sort of valve, I guess you could call it, or a little hole there. Just make sure that hole is oriented in the upwards direction when the pump is installed in the vehicle. So it goes in the truck like pretty much like that. So I'm going to put the little thing up there like that. Okay, I cleaned up the bolts, threw a little anti-seize on them. Just makes everything nice for next time if you have to take it apart. I don't know what the torque spec is on these, but the torque spec for the water pump mounting bolts is 18 foot-pounds. So I'm going to do these pretty similar. You could probably go a little bit more on these because they're a little longer. So 18 to, I don't know, 25 foot-pounds would probably be all right. Just use common sense. So just got my 13mm socket here. Okay, so we're going to put our gasket in. This comes with the water pump. I'm just going to put a little bit of this silicone lubricating grease. This is for gaskets. It just helps the gasket stay pliable throughout its life. It's not something you have to do. Just I usually do it whenever there's a rubber gasket. So just put a very small amount on. And it also aids in the installation. So if anything was, you know, binding up or something like that, this would make sure everything went together smoothly. Just put a little bit of that on the whole surface. We'll go around, make sure it's all in there and there's no kinks or spaces where there's a little bit extra. You'll see that little bit of grease will just aid in sealing so that when we torque it down, everything kind of just glides out nice onto the face of the engine. Okay, we're back at the engine. Got the pump ready to go. Got my bolts and everything ready to go as well. They've all been cleaned and a little bit of anti-seize put on them just so they go in nice, and they also torque down to spec. So we'll go ahead and mount this on the engine. Okay, and then we're just going to go back through them one more time. Okay, next we're going to put this stabilizer bracket back on. I gave it a little clean up and a paint. Okay, so we're just going to work from the bottom up. Put our lower rad hose back on. I'm going to put some new hose clamps on our heater hose. Okay, then we're going to put our new idler, or sorry, tensioner back on, Napa 38382. It's got the alignment pin there, goes in that hole, and then this other pin, it goes on that, and then the bolt, which I cleaned. Okay, and then we have two new idlers. These ones are steel, which is nice. And they are Napa A5498 or 45979. And then we're gonna put this one on. Sits over there like that. Our bolt. Just gonna grab that other one. We'll put our upper rad hose back on, followed by the hose clamp. There we go. Slide into little pockets on the rad. Put these bolts back in. And then we're going to spin our fan back on. There's little tabs that the tank
sits into on the fan shroud. And then these bolts hold the top.
Okay, I'm going to start the engine, and I'm going to let it run as I'm adding coolant. Okay guys, I just took it for about a 5-10 kilometer drive on some 80 kilometer plus roads. It's staying within the range on the dash here, and then I also have the computer hooked to it, and right there you got engine coolant temp. We're staying about below 218 anyway. It's at 216 right now, just at a light. But just basically all I did was I started up, just kept adding coolant until it wouldn't take anymore. With the engine running, circulating, just taking for a drive here, just make sure there's all the air bubbles I can get out of the system. And yeah, I think we're good to go. So if you guys got any questions, just let me know. Thanks.